So there's been a lot of confusion floating around recently, and I see constantly in my DMs, in comments, and in conversations which I have with people in real life about running versus walking. Which one's better for fat loss? Which one burns more fat? Which one's better for weight loss? Should you be doing the fat burning one more than the non-fat burning one? Is running going to wreck your knees? You know, all of these different questions comparing two different forms of essentially physical activity. And honestly, the debate has got a little bit out of hand. And it's not just recently either. Like, I think it got out of hand a few years ago when I remember seeing an Instagram reel saying that running doesn't put you into a fat burning zone, which therefore means that walking is going to be better for fat loss. And that stuck with me. And the answer to that question is a lot simpler than what the internet is going to lead you to believe. So let's settle it once and for all. Let's break it down. No drama, no overcomplicated science, just a straightforward, honest breakdown of the truth and what actually matters when it comes to making a decision between the two. So let's start with running, because running is the one that tends to get the most credit when people are talking about fat loss and cardio. And look, the credit is somewhat deserved to a certain extent because it gets your heart rate up, it challenges your body, and it burns a significantly more amount of calories in a short space of time than walking would, because you know you're doing it a little bit more intense, aren't you? So if you've, for example, got like 30 minutes to exercise and you want to maximize the amount of calories that you want to burn off, running is going to be the thing that comfortably does that. And it's going to be the thing that wins that argument pretty comfortably as well. There's also something to be said about the cardiovascular benefits of running as well. Your heart and your lungs get a proper workout, your cardiovascular fitness improves, your stamina improves, and for a lot of people, your mental health also takes an improvement as well, because there are some weirdos out there that actually enjoy running. I know, it's weird, isn't it? The famous runner's high is genuinely like a real thing, and if you're somebody that enjoys running and enjoys going for sprints, it can be an incredibly powerful tool to get into shape for both your physical and your mental well-being. But, and this is a significant but, running also comes with some pretty meaningful downsides as well. So first off, it's hard, not just physically, but in terms of sustainability as well. Because if you don't enjoy running, and honestly most people don't, I don't, unless there's a football involved, then the consistency isn't going to be as easy to keep up. And we've established that in pretty much every single conversation about fat loss, consistency is always the key. You need to consistently be creating a calorie deficit. You need to be consistently going to the gym. So consistency, when it's all boiled down to it, is the main point of fat loss. It doesn't matter how many calories you burn off in a single run. If you cannot keep doing that for 3, 4, 5 times a week and do it consistently, over the course of the week, it's going to be like a drop in the ocean. There's also the physical toll to keep in mind. So running is high impact. So for some people, particularly those carrying extra weight or with joint issues, you are going to feel that high impact on your knees and your joints. Running regularly can genuinely lead to a little bit of discomfort and can genuinely lead to injury as well. And an injured person who can't exercise at all is in a worse off position than someone doing a lower intensity activity consistently. So yeah, running does burn off more calories in a shorter space of time than walking, but that advantage disappears the moment you stop doing it. Now, here's the case for walking, which is often dismissed as being not a real workout by people who are just wrong. Because walking is genuinely brilliant for fat loss. Not like in a dramatic, I'm getting a sweat on, I'm killing it, I'm burning kind of way, but in a quite sustainable, I can fucking do this every single day kind of way. And that second kind is genuinely more valuable than a lot of people do realise. Because walking does burn calories. Not as many as running within a time frame. If you ran for 30 minutes and walked for 30 minutes, you'd burn off more calories when you ran. But the effort required to walk is much, much less than the effort required to run. And because of that reason, almost anyone can keep up walking consistently without it feeling like a punishment, especially if you're using your steps, your fat loss, your cardio, your fitness as a byproduct to just getting to where you need to be. So parking further away from the shops, using the stairs instead of the lift, walking across the park instead of driving. You get the idea. You can walk while listening to a podcast. You can walk whilst watching a YouTube video, while scrolling TikTok, while scrolling Instagram. On a phone call with your mate, you can walk whilst pretty much doing anything. It barely feels like exercise, yet over the course of the week, if you do it consistently, it will accumulate to make a massive difference to your overall fat loss, because it will all accumulate to a huge, substantial amount of calories burned if done consistently over the course of the week. And here's something that often gets overlooked. The psychological barrier to walking is almost zero. On the days where you're tired, when you're stressed, when the last thing on your mind is, going to the gym and putting in all of your effort into your workout and putting your kit on and everything, you can still go for a walk. And that matters enormously because those are the exact days which do require you to still do something, even if it's not your usual thing. Walking keeps you moving on the hard days, and keeping moving on the hard days is what keeps your progress going over the long term. Now, I want to address something specifically which I know is going to come up at some point, the mythical fat burning zone. You've probably heard this before, you've probably seen it on a treadmill, or some wanker on Instagram has told you about it. The idea that when you do low intensity, steady state cardio, such as walking, your body is in a fat burning zone, which means that you're going to be burning fat more. And the first part of that statement is, actually quite true. When you do exercise at a lower intensity, steady state form, you do enter something called the fat burning zone, when your body essentially uses a higher proportion of dietary fat as a substrate for energy. That's real. That actually happens. But, and this is a crucial distinction that I need you to understand, there is a massive difference between fat burning and fat loss. Fat burning is simply the process of your body using a higher proportion of dietary fat as opposed to carbohydrates for use within exercise as a substrate for energy. That's happening, that's real, but it has essentially nothing to do with fat loss at all. Fat loss, actual meaningful, genuine fat loss, which you can see either on the scales or in pictures or in your body or whatever it is, happens when your body is in an energy deficit. When you're consistently burning off more calories than what you're consuming, your body doesn't have any energy to do its day-to-day things, to keep you alive, to keep you moving, to do anything. So it actually takes energy, stored energy, from your body fat cells and uses it for that instead. This is a different process to fat burning, completely different. This process is entirely independent of whether or not you're in the fat burning zone. You can lose fat in the fat burning zone, you can lose fat outside of the fat burning zone. Doesn't matter, because that essentially has nothing to do with it. The fat burning zone is an interesting physiological concept, but it is not a fat loss strategy, so don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So it's not about entering the fat burning zone, and if it's not about burning off a shit ton of calories in a short space of time, then what's the most important distinction between the two? Well, two things really: enjoyment and that C word once again, consistency. Because the research on this is pretty clear. The best form of exercise for your health, for your body, for your fat loss, for anything, is the one you'll actually do. And the one you'll actually do is most likely going to be the one that you enjoy. Not the one that burns the most calories in theory, not the one that some fitness influencer told you about was optimal, the one you genuinely want to do consistently enough to actually get the results that you want. The one that you can genuinely keep up for days, weeks, months, even years. If you love running, run. If you love walking, walk. If you love a combination of both, good, do that. So here's how I think about this practically. If you're just starting out, walk. Look at your step count, try and increase that by about 1,000 a day. Build the habit of daily movement first, and build the habit of just being a more active person. So using the previous examples that I made, park further away from the shops, walk instead of drive, use the stairs instead of the lift, walk around the house, do a little bit more chores, just go out for like a 15-minute walk a day. Little things like that accumulated to make such a big difference over the course of the week. Because the foundation of any fat loss success story is consistency, and walking is one of the easiest ways to build that foundation up. And as you get fitter, more confident, more consistent, you can then start introducing running only if you want to. Gradually mixing it with walking and building it up at a pace that feels sustainable rather than overwhelming. And most importantly, if you try to start running and you hate it, stop. There is no rule that says you have to run if you want to lose weight. There is no fat loss medal for people who chose the harder option. Just walk. Walk a lot. Walk consistently. And trust that it's working, because it is. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want any more content designed to help you get into the best shape possible without hating your life in the process, make sure that you're following my Instagram at k.p_health, or subscribe to this channel. And if you want some more in-depth tailored advice on how we can help with that, click the link in the description below, fill the form out, and I'll be in touch with you personally, show you how exactly we can help you do that. In the meantime, have a lovely rest of your day. Peace.